welcome everyone to another episode of A World of Chaos. Thank you for joining me today. I have a great guest with me today. He is a man of many hats. Let's see if we can remember all of them. Let's see. He is a professional actor, SAG affiliated. He is a professional wrestler. He is a model. He is a stuntman. Did I miss anything, Justin?
No, I think you pretty much got everything. On occasion, I can do backflips, and I'm also a Power Ranger. So I think that's about it.
All right. Well, the voice you hear is Justin Main. Justin, thank you so much for joining me on the show. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, of course. Thank you for having me. I've been wanting to do this interview for a while, so I appreciate you having me on.
So this is the first time I've had you on this show. Anybody that's affiliated that knows me from Knockouts and Three Counts will know Justin is a very renowned professional wrestler. That's how I actually first met him. I'm actually, if you don't know that already, a huge pro wrestling fan, and Justin is a great wrestler. He's great in the ring. He does a lot of great work for a local promotion we've have called BCWA. He has been in some great matches. So if you guys want to check out some of his matches, go look up BCWA and you'll not be disappointed with any of the great matches Justin's had. So in addition to pro
Thanks.
wrestling,
I appreciate it.
oh yeah. In addition to pro wrestling, you're also a now a SAG. I saw you got a SAG affiliation as an actor. How does that feel?
It's a really good feeling. It's been one of my biggest goals since I started acting professionally about 7 years ago. Um, it's something that I've been like really heavily working towards. Um, because I mean, with the SAG-AFTRA affiliation and when just being part of the union, it opens up a lot more doors for actors and just in film, TV, all that stuff. You're taken more seriously as a working actor. So for me personally, it was a big accomplishment.
So how long did it actually take to become affiliated with SAG? Do you have to have like a certain amount of credits on your resume or it just takes like a certain amount of time?
So it's kind of different in every state. It just I guess it really mostly depends on where you work at. The generality of it is basically you work on a SAG after project. There's a bunch of different types of projects. You have like your SAG new media, you have SAG ultra low budget, you have SAG low budget, and then SAG feature film. Then there's other types of like SAG projects that you can work on. But for me, I did a SAG new media commercial, which is basically a web commercial back in like 2015. And that was the first time I ever did a SAG project. And then the next time I did one was in 2016 when I had a speaking role in Detroit, the feature film. So after that was when I was pretty much considered what's called a must join or SAG after eligible. When you're a must join, that's pretty much when you have to relatively join the union, so that way you can continue to get more union projects. But the difference is in certain states like Michigan and Georgia, these are right to work states. So you can really do as many union projects as you want without having to join. You're not forced to join because of laws in the state. So I held off for a little while, and then I got an opportunity down in Georgia not too long ago, about a month and a half ago, and one of the things that I learned on set was I think it was the right time to join SAG-AFTRA and to become a part of the union.
Okay. So what type of affiliation does other than having that on your resume, does that actually really like open any doors for like local promotions when you actually see that on your resume? Is that something that can actually be like a stigma? Like do people specifically want for like local or like smaller budget productions? Do they want to specifically have SAG affiliated actors, or do they want to go with more local actors, do you think?
Okay. Well, For like acting groups and whatnot, there are certain projects where they hire only strictly union actors. So for those, I'll be more considered. I'll be more in consideration for those projects. Um, as for wrestling, it doesn't really like do much. I mean, wrestling kind of operates by a whole different set of rules than acting does. I consider pro wrestling kind of like the Wild West versus acting, which is, I mean, on occasion it can't be the Wild West, but yeah, they kind of go by a whole different set of rules.
So speaking of pro wrestling, what got you into wrestling? Like you've been a pro wrestler for, I think you said about what, like 5 or 6 years now, at least.
Oh no, double that. I've been pro wrestling since 2007.
Okay. So what gave you that big itch to get into the ring and take your first bump?
So I was always a fan ever since I was probably like 7 or 8 or something like that. I realized very quickly that pro wrestling was just really, really super entertaining for me. I always liked, martial arts stuff and I always liked cartoons like Dragon Ball Z and all that. To me, pro wrestling was kind of like the real life version of that. You're seeing all these crazy moves being done and whatnot. Like Power Rangers was like my favorite show when I was growing up. So like to see all this stuff relatively on TV right in front of me was just super cool. So yeah, I just became a huge fan. And then when I was like 16, I well actually rewind that a little bit. When I was 15, I went to WWE Survivor Series. I think it was 2000. What year was it? 2005.
Okay.
When it was at the Joe Louis, and I was sitting fifth row, and Triple H and Ric Flair had this like last man standing match where they brawled out into the crowd, and I went to go pick up my camera to take a picture. I turned around. As soon as I turned around, I got knocked over and I fell over a bunch of seats. And I looked back up and I saw, Triple H standing right in front of me, and then like Ric Flair like punching him in the face, and then they brawled back to the ring, and like I knew then and there that I was like, okay, this is awesome. I got to get into this. So
So we can say your first
yeah, I
on
basically,
the WWE network.
what was that?
I said, so we can probably say your first acting credit is officially on the WWE network on Survivor Series.
I mean, yeah, I guess you could say that. I don't know if I think you may be able to see me. Like I checked once and I like for a split second you can see me because I had like these I was a huge CM Punk fan back then, and I had these I had my wrists taped up like CM Punk did, and I had like X's on my hands and everything, and um so if you look for the kid with the X's on his hands and like basically wrist tape gauntlets on, that would be me.
Now I saw on your IMDb it actually said for your trivia, so that's why I wanted to ask you because I know IMDb trivia can be kind of dicey, but it said you were actually hired as an extra for Jurassic World on your birthday.
Yes, yes, that is a true story.
That's pretty cool. So how was it working? How was it working then? Now that was the first Jurassic World, the first one of the new reboot series.
Yeah, that was the one that came out in 2015. So another little, or actually, this is pretty widely known fact. I'm a huge Jurassic Park fan, and like it was literally the first film I ever watched when I was a kid. I was 5 years old when it came out into theaters, and I fell in love with Jurassic Park like immensely, and it was always my 5-year-old childhood dream to go to Jurassic Park. And I followed the franchise as a big fan since then, and I found out in like 2014 that they were doing another Jurassic World or Jurassic Park, but obviously titled Jurassic World. They were doing another movie, so um, I kind of followed it pretty closely since then, and then I found out that they're doing like a casting call in New Orleans. Um, right around like March or so. And I kind of debated it. I'm like, they're probably not going to pick me. Like, can I like afford to go down there? Like, do I have the money to go down there? And after talking it over with one of my friends at the time, she's like, if you don't take this opportunity, you're going to regret it for the rest of your life. You never know what's going to come from it. And that, that laid very heavily on me. So literally on March 28th, which is my birthday, I flew down to New Orleans, attended the casting call, told the casting associate that was handling the extras casting for the film, and I just told her like the story that I had. I've always been a Jurassic Park fan. I'm from Michigan. It's always been a dream of mine to be a part of a Jurassic Park movie. And then we just enjoyed the rest of our time in New Orleans. About a month later, I got an email from production stating that they had chosen me to be a part of the extras casting. And I basically at that moment, like literally threw my phone down and just started like yelling. It was a very, very exciting experience. And I mean, we got to film in, I think, June 2014 for 6 days. We were there for 10 days total. It was such an amazing experience. It was something I'll never forget. I literally cried when I stepped onto the set. It was really fun.
Now,
A lot of great memories come from that set.
are we able to see you in the finished film? Do you have any scenes, or can you spot yourself in the background of any of the scenes?
Yeah. It's kind of like a Where's Waldo type of thing where you kind of have to freeze frame it and like look at it very closely. But in the film, you can see me in the beginning of the film tour, like when they're flying over the main street area. You can see me walking with my girlfriend at the time, right in front of the fountain. And then later on during the film, during the Pteranodon attack, you can see me kind of like running away past the kids, which is more of a close-up angle. If you're looking to see my face, I'm actually in the behind the scenes extras.
Okay.
In one specific moment where you can see me like clear as day. So I know it wasn't the biggest role ever. It wasn't like the biggest thing ever in terms of just acting career, but for me it was a very defining moment. It was something that kind of pushed me into a new trajectory. And that's where I realized that I wanted to pursue acting like professionally and full time. So that was a big moment.
Yeah, not too many people can say they have a $1 billion film on their resume. So I mean, that's always great to have on there. So
Yeah, I mean, it would have been nice to share that pie a little bit, but it is what it is.
right. Now, speaking of some of your upcoming projects, I know you are affiliated with the Crow fan film that did shoot. I think you guys shot some stuff here locally, right?
Oh yeah, we shot everything local. That was a production that I had put together that I had been basically dreaming of for the past 20 years. Like it was the idea for the film was something that I came up with probably 19, 20 years ago when I was a teenager, when I had seen it for the first time. And that movie changed my life in so many different ways. Um, it was what really ignited my interest in film and in acting. About just as much as Jurassic Park. Jurassic Park on a slightly different, like on a slightly different level, but like The Crow was kind of like a turning point for me, like emotionally as a person. I kind of looked at love and revenge and death, and I looked at everything kind of differently after watching that film, and it really ignited my interest in acting. Brandon Lee's performance in that film was absolutely stunning. It's something that like had he gone on to live a full life and a full career, it would have changed everything for him. And
Oh yeah. I mean, if you look at
he,
Rapid Fire and then The Crow, I mean, he was on a pretty good role right there to where you can honestly say he was gonna be somebody huge in Hollywood. Like I think Rapid Fire, I saw
right,
that not too long ago, and I forgot how much I loved it. I was a big Brandon Lee fan. My father, when I grew up, he always had a Bruce Lee film on, and then when I was a kid and I found out, I'm like, wait. that guy is Bruce Lee's son. I'm like, that's cool. So
It's kind of crazy, right?
yeah, and then when The Crow came out, I knew of it being a comic based off a comic book, and especially back in the 90s,
Right.
we didn't get too many of those. So when I heard that it was a comic book film and it's based on Brandon Lee, I'm like, okay, I'm in. Then going to see
Right.
the film, finding out that it's based here in Detroit, especially when you talk about Devil's Night, I'm like, wait a second, this is a superhero film that has the ties to Detroit. Like the last one I had
Right.
that was RoboCop. So we don't get too
Exactly.
many superheroes here in Detroit. So especially movies that are actually referencing Detroit. I have a long
Yeah.
standing thing where I can't stand where a movie says it's here in Detroit and you can clearly tell it's San Francisco or Vancouver, Canada. You know, when you're looking at
Exactly. Yeah.
they're outside, or they're on Main Street, or they're on First. Well, we have a First Street, but they're on like a street that has nothing to do with Detroit. So seeing The Crow and then seeing like areas that were referenced in Detroit, that was pretty cool for me. So growing up having that type of
And it was
no, yeah, go ahead.
and it was for me too. It was for me too. And I like to agree with you on that point. Like normally whenever you see like superheroes or even just movies in general, you never really see anything set in Michigan or in Detroit in particular. Like it's always somewhere else. It's always in New York or Miami or Los Angeles. It's always in a heavily populated, area. And I always felt like Detroit and Michigan itself, like really just was never was never glorified as just a great city or a great state to put out there in the world. Like there's so many interesting things about this state and this city, in particular with Detroit, that I feel like should be exposed and should be put out there, but you just never see it.
Mm-hmm.
And with The Crow, putting Detroit at the forefront, and I mean RoboCop to another extent, like it was really nice to see that representation for our city in the state. And yeah, I really enjoyed that. To me, it was really cool seeing that.
Yeah, even when they shot Batman v Superman, which if you're a fan of this channel, no, I'm not about to go on at that rant. But when I first heard that they were going to be shooting part of Batman v Superman here, I was saying, well, of course, if you're gonna make Gotham City, that's Detroit. I think that's a
Absolutely.
pretty good parallel. I'm like, I mean, I don't know too much about Dan Gilbert and his parents, but I'm like, if his parents were taken from him at 8, I would think Dan Gilbert would probably be Batman right about now. So I'm like, it just makes a lot of sense to do that. And then seeing a lot of the areas in Detroit, even with the Transformer films, a lot of those filmed in, I think all the three, I know the first 3 did shoot here in Detroit, even though one of my friend's fathers was an actor, a background extra in all 3 of them. So seeing downtown Detroit there, seeing it in Batman v Superman, it's representation. I'm a proud Detroiter, and I love seeing my city on the big screen. So what were some of the big aspects of bringing Detroit into that film, that into The Crow, that you wanted to really accentuate, being that The Crow is for most parts a Detroit character?
Right. So to me, setting it in Detroit was never a question of if I was going to do it. It was just going to be how are we going to feature Detroit? How are we going to feature like Michigan in and of itself? Now, with the timing of how we filmed The Crow, um, and how with COVID going on and everything, obviously it created a whole bunch of set of challenges for us. So we had to find different areas around Michigan that could double as scenery for Detroit. So you'll see a lot of different locations that are not in and of itself in Detroit. They are still in Michigan, but like our biggest set piece in the film is in the heart of Detroit. You'll see it extensively as a background. You'll see exactly where we're at. You'll see the highway and everything. Like I without spoiling too much, there's, you'll see Detroit in a large majority of the film. And it was something that we, especially like now that we're in post production and editing it, we really wanted to figure out how we could feature just different bits and pieces of it. Like we've gotten B-roll footage of just driving around Detroit and just showing off different locations. We have mentioned in the actual film, like different actual streets in Detroit and different locations that are cited by the characters. So we try to stay as technically and correctly based in terms of geography in this area, that we think it would be a nice Easter egg for locals in Michigan and for Detroiters in general to pick up on. And yeah, it was always a thing that we wanted to make heavily, like it was a heavy emphasis of just making sure that this was Detroit and felt like Detroit.
I think the last film I ever saw that really referenced Detroit, and this is going to be just obscure, is the Alex Cross film, the last film in the Alex Cross series that starred Tyler Perry as Alex Cross. Right. I was at the movie theater. I think it came out Sweeties Day weekend. For any of you that aren't familiar with the Midwest, Sweeties Day, it's another Valentine's Day that we have. And my girlfriend at the time took me to see it because I'm a huge James Cross fan, James Patterson fan. My mom has pretty much every James Patterson book. Alex Cross is one of her favorite fictional characters. So I grew up with Kiss the Girls and Along Came the Spider and constantly
nice.
on my house. So when I went to see it, I didn't know anything about it. I just knew it's the new Alex Cross film. It has Tyler Perry in it. And there's a point in the movie where a character puts on the Detroit Pistons shirt. And the movie theater I was in, they're like, hey, all right, somebody's, actually showing some love to the Pistons. We never get love. It's usually a Lakers or a Knicks shirt. And a couple minutes later, somebody answered the phone. They're like, all right, pick me up on Mac and Bewick. And the entire movie theater just started like clamoring, like, whoa, wait a second. Not only in Detroit, they actually said two streets that actually cross each other. And then the climax of the film takes place on the People Mover. So I'm like, this is cool to actually see Detroit represented in a film. Like I've never seen the People Mover referenced in any film that even was about Detroit. So seeing Detroit on screen really does give you a lot of pride.
The fact that it's technically correct too. It's not like they're saying, oh, you're going to 3rd Street and whatever. Like, like these are actual crossroads in Detroit that people can literally visit and go to and see exactly what the characters are talking about.
I think a friend of mine, they told me the horror movie from 2014, It Follows, takes place all through Metro Detroit, and there's actually a tour that you can go on and visit all the actual locations. If you're not from here, that's a big deal. If you're from here, you pass them often. So for The Crow, not giving away any spoilers or anything, but can you just tell us briefly about about the film and like let us know some of the things we can expect in the film?
Yeah, sure. So just putting it right off the bat, because whenever I talk about this film, I know some people who are not familiar with what we're doing think we're remaking it and rebooting it, and that's not the case at all. This is an original story with original characters. I consider this I don't want to call it a sequel, but I consider it more of kind of like a sequel in its own story. It doesn't reference any past characters or anything like that. It is basically its own entity, but it takes the mythology, it takes the general theme and the story of The Crow, and it tells a new version of that. A man and his loved one unfortunately face a situation where they don't quite come out of it in one piece, and a little while later the man comes back from the dead and exacts revenge, right? So that's the whole story of The Crow. We follow a very similar story, however, we kind of put a spin on it. And there's certain questions that we ask in the film There are certain things that have not been referenced in the films or even in the comics before. We basically take the idea and put a twist on it. So, to give you a little bit of the synopsis, a man wakes up in the trunk. His name is Dean. He wakes up in a trunk, no recollection of how he got there, why he's there. But throughout the course of the film, you experience with him these flashes and these moments of how he got there to begin with, of just past memories. And through those flashbacks and through those memories, he starts to discover what exactly happened and essentially who he is in general. So that's kind of where we start the film off. And again, without spoiling anything, I don't want to spoil anything at all. Mm-hmm. It's kind of a wild ride. We really, really, really play with these moments of flashbacks and memories to really tell the story. The best way of explaining it is kind of like, think of like Memento from several years ago. That is a great way of kind of explaining the how we tell the story of Dean Summers in this film. But to me, Crow is more so thematically about there not being good versus evil or good versus bad. I don't think that exists. What I think exists are good and bad decisions. There is inherently nobody who is 100% evil, and we don't classify anybody in this film as 100% good or 100% evil. There's shades of gray, and what we want to do with this film is really make people think about what these characters are doing and where they're at emotionally and mentally after decisions they make in this film. And it's been really, really, really fun exploring that, especially in the editing process, which ironically, I'm actually on my way to the editor's studio right now to work on the film. But it's been extremely fun exploring that story and that theme. Really, in essence, this is a film about grief and how you handle grief. And it'll be really, I think it'll be really profound for a lot of people to watch.
Now, I know you said you're on your way to doing the editing and you're still in post-production. Do you have any window when we might be able to actually see this? Are you guys going to go for like an official release here? I know things are still a little crazy with theaters, but are you still hoping to do possibly like a theater premiere of the actual film?
Yeah, so that's definitely a big goal of ours. Obviously, we want theaters to open up a little bit more before we do a theatrical premiere for it, but that is definitely something that we are intending to do. As for time frame of when we're releasing, it's kind of tough to say right now. If it's for sure going to be this year, it's just a matter of when. I have kind of like an idea time frame wise of when I want it to be released, but honestly, we're really just taking our time with this and making sure that we are crafting exactly how we want this film to be. We don't want to rush it. We don't want to release it before it's ready. Gotcha. If that makes any sense. So really locking down like a date, it would be unfair because I don't know for sure when we're going to be able to say like this is exactly how we want it to be. But just know that we are really putting everything we have into this as filmmakers and as editors to make this, in my personal opinion, the best film that'll be released this year in Michigan. And I think it will open up a lot of eyes to the talent in this state, the talent and the level of talent that the filmmakers here and the actors, the crew, everybody attached has. To me, this is kind of like a step into the door of what Michigan filmmaking can be. And I'm really excited to really, really put this out there and just be able to allow people to see that and to know that this is a 100% Michigan-made film and that we're proud of everything that we've done.
Yeah, I've been following it since I first started seeing you even announce some of the pre-production on it. I've always been a fan of The Crow. I've been a fan of the films, City of Angels. I think it's kind of underrated. as a comic book film, because a lot of people really don't even talk about the Crow. They just talk about the first film, but even as a comic book character, it is a great character. I even know they've been trying for years to make another huge big budget live action film of the Crow. So to actually finally get a new Crow film is exciting for me, as somebody that grew up with that character and just always having a special place in my heart. So it is going to be great to actually go and see a new Crow film. For me, that's going to be pretty cool.
Yeah, and that makes me excited to hear that, because I'm just like you. I'm just like a lot of fans of the Crow as well. Like, we've seen all the films of the franchise, we've read most of the comics. There's so much potential in this story, and the many different ways that you can tell it that can be explored, and we've only seen a couple of those stories. And as a fan, you want to see more of that. Sure, some films were better than others in the franchise. I mean, we can all admit that. But ultimately, it's just a beautiful story to tell, and it makes you think. It's not like one of those stories where it's very one note in one direction. Like there's a lot of different ways that you can spin it. And at one point I started thinking, I'm like, man, I really want to see another Crow film, and nothing's being done with this. Can I swear on this?
Sure.
Fuck it, I just want to make my own film. So it got to that point, and I was able to pull together the resources, and we have an amazing cast and crew. Like, I don't want to just name off a couple of people. Like, I would end up naming everybody, because everybody on this film did an amazing job, and I'm so thankful to have them as part of this film, because this film wouldn't be what it is without them. And so yeah, I just really wanted to put something out there again for not only just fans of the franchise itself, but just fans of Brandon Lee and just film in general. Like, it's a beautiful story, and it deserves to be told again. And I think the fans deserve something to chew on, at least until something officially made. And I don't know what the holdup is going over in Hollywood. I don't know why there's a lot of starts and stops when it comes to getting another film, but everyone waited, and
Yep, kind of going out.
Am I going?
Can you hear me? Dude, he's gone. Can you hear me?
Yep. Can you hear me?
Yep, I got you.
Okay.
So, now with the Crow coming out later this year, do you have any other upcoming projects that we can look out for?
Yeah. So I got a few things coming out. I got surprised this morning with the trailer for a film that I did in 2018 called Without Grace. So that's kind of like an action style short film. Very what's the word I'm looking for? Very stylized. Very stylized type of fighting, and it very martial arts based. That'll be coming out pretty soon. The film I just shot in Georgia is called Reactor. I have a small role in that, but it was a really, really fun and interesting experience. I learned a lot being on that. It was a film that stars Bruce Willis and a couple of other really talented actor cast through. So it'll be coming out. I don't even know an exact release date, but I would assume probably at the very earliest, maybe late this year.
Okay.
I have a few other things coming in the pipeline, but overall, those are the couple things that you can watch out for.
Now, anything I know we
The
are
shift too. That's
okay. I know things are slowly starting to open up here in Michigan and nationwide. Do you have any upcoming wrestling events that you're going to be going to?
honestly, not as of yet. There are a couple of potentials that I could be working for in the near future. However, it's one of those things where, I'm kind of playing it by ear, especially with like COVID and live events. And I guess we'll see what happens. I'll never say never. I'm sure I'll be in the ring at some point this year. I just don't know exactly when.
Gotcha. Well, Justin, I really would like to thank you for coming on the show. I really appreciate it. Let everybody know where they can find you on all your social medias and any upcoming projects you want to throw out there also again.
For sure. So you can follow me on Facebook at Justin Maine Official. Maine is always spelled Mane. No matter what anybody tells you, it's always Mane. Like a lion's mane. So you can find me on Facebook at Justin Maine Official. Instagram is Justin Maine Official as well. Twitter is Justin Maine Off. And then what else do I have? I'm trying to remember. My website is www.justinmaine.com. And yeah, I'm pretty much on most social media platforms. I have a YouTube, Justin Maine. So yeah, look me up, add me, follow me, contact me. Let's start conversations. I love talking with people and conversating and really just getting to know who's on the other side of the coin. So yeah, follow me.
All right. Well, again, thank you so much, Justin. Thank you, everybody, for watching and listening to this. I've been Kayos. You've been awesome. Nerd responsibly.
Thank you.
The Crow was released on July 19th, 2022. It currently is on YouTube right now in its entirety, and as of the time of this airing, has over 12,000 views. Make sure you head over there to give it a watch.